Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. All credit to Becky Lynch. She tried so hard in this match. Like, her heel mannerisms were tremendous, I thought. This crowd did not care because they were going to cheer for both of them. It wasn't like they took a pro Becky, anti Bianca Belair stance. They were into both of them, but they were not booing Becky. And it did not matter what she tried, or trying to be like the pouty face, or she was doing a lot of great work, I thought, just visually. But this crowd, they love Becky.
Yeah. I mean, they see her as a superstar, and I think like her act is so over the top as a heel that like it just comes across as performance rather than somebody you could legitimately hate, which they couldn't anyway, because her actions have not been heelish enough in the short time she's been here for the audience to truly turn on her. But nonetheless, I think this audience was really wanting to see a Bianca Belair championship win.
Becky started the same way from SummerSlam, holding out her hand, but Bianca would not take the bait. Crowd is chanting for both women, going back and forth. There were early attempts at the KOD and the disarmer. Belair looked great in this. She did a delayed vertical suplex. It was just, these two, they just had a really nice match together. They've
been working together on the UK tour.
That's right. Becky applied the disarmer, and Belair was able to get to the rope. Becky came off the middle rope with a leg drop, and then Becky countered a vertical suplex and fought for the armbar. Belair escaped that, and then goes for the disarmer once again, drags Belair away from the rope. Belair powers her up for the KOD when Sasha Banks runs in for the disqualification at 17 minutes and 21 seconds. They were having a really strong match, and I thought there would be a lot of negativity towards this finish, but I was not focused on people's reactions, but what I saw seemed to be that this was not met with all that negativity that they did the DQ. I think people were happy that they reintroduced Sasha, and it feels like this is, at best, it's a three-way program, or somebody is moving shows.
Seems like, I mean, they've established the three-way in this post-match angle.
They did the attack on, Sasha attacked both, so I think they'll keep them all together.
They'll at least have to pay that off somehow, even after maybe one of these people gets drafted to another show. But the finish, I think, to some it would be unsatisfying, but you're telling me the majority doesn't seem to care. And I include me as one of those, because I felt this program was going to continue past this B show anyway and not really culminate here. And I think, considering all that, like, the most we could have hoped for was, number one, a killer match, which this absolutely was, and then some element of surprise to conclude the finish. And I thought the Sasha return was a big enough surprise to satisfy people. As far as the match goes, I mean, this really was Becky's first TV match. I mean, we know that she's been doing the house shows, but if there's any doubt about what condition she's in after giving birth, like, she looked as good as ever here. Maybe even a little bit better than she was before, because she's added some offense to her repertoire. But the star of this was, to me, Bianca Belair. She's so smooth in her sequences. Crowd is completely behind her, and I'm thinking wanting to see her win that championship again. So, we're very critical of perhaps the way they got there, but they want to see Bianca Belair beat Becky Lynch, in my opinion.
This is one where I think it's the larger picture that puts WWE into a corner on some of these. I think there is this fear of beating people that leads to finishes like this. And part of that, I think, is that had they done a clean finish and Becky retained, I think you would have had people upset, because we always talk about the follow-up, and that it usually does not meet people's satisfaction, that they will beat people and they never get that big moment at the end of things. Whereas we can compare and go up and down that all-out card. You can beat baby faces clean, you can beat heels clean, and in some cases, they come out stronger. And that's something that you're not going to just change overnight, where they could go out and have this fantastic match. I think if you did a clean finish, I think there's still, internally, there's probably that paranoia of not wanting to beat either side. Like, that's what this was.
Well, I will say one of the differences, I think, in the two booking styles is, I mean, AEW, if they beat somebody, let's say if they beat a Jungle Boy or Darby Allin, they're done with that program for the most part. They're not immediately going back to that rematch. WWE will do the match right after on the next month, maybe even on the next TV show. So for that reason, I think they're probably a lot less willing to, for instance, in this case, have Bianca Belair take a pinfall, even if it does come from distraction. They number one want to keep her strong, and they probably just want to go, run this back or do it with Sasha Banks involved. So you have to still maintain her as a competitor.
Yeah, and I mean afterwards they had at first like teased like an alliance with Sasha and Becky, and then Sasha attacked her, and it was just everyone attacking each other, which is going to make for interesting segments if it is all three involved, because you're taking two heels and the audience is not necessarily taking to Becky as a babyface. And if Sasha is taking that lead role as the heel, it's almost giving like the open invitation to cheer Becky wildly, and how she comes out of this program if it's all three of them together. Like, we know we have Bianca Belair in the babyface role, Sasha is the heel, and Becky is sort of in the middle there.
I think they will do enough to assure that the sole babyface focus will be Bianca Belair in the match. I mean, and they were pretty successful, I thought, tonight. So I don't see them having any issue in a 3-way. Like, they'll probably do something of having Sasha and a lot of names here, Sasha and Becky working together against Bianca, something like that. Where do you think it'll happen if they do a 3-way? Because do you see them having? I mean, they'll probably be at Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, it's tough because you've got the Crown Jewel show, and I think honestly, like, you're going to put a lot of these matches on television. Like, Survivor Series is a long time away, and if they go with the usual format, like, that doesn't lend itself to brand specific storylines, because you're doing the interbrand stuff for those shows.
Yeah. Maybe we should even get out of the habit of saying like, oh, when are they going to do this big show, and always talking about the pay-per-views, because
Monday and Friday are big shows, especially
those are the big shows
at the moment, and they are going to put big matches on TV, I think, most weeks.